Hello everybody, this is Ice, and this is a video tutorial for dialogue audio implementation for the Odyssey the Dragonborn project. I'm going to basically walk you through what software is needed and what the basic workflow is for getting audio files from raw WAV files and converted into fuzzes and attached to the lines inside a plugin in the creation kit. So first and foremost, obviously, you're going to need the creation kit. In addition to that, you will need the creation kit fixes. Anybody working on anything with Odyssey is going to be required to have these working on their copy of the creation kit, simply because the form count is going to be enough that it will break the creation kit, and anything you work on is not going to solidify once you have everything loaded up all at once. So creation kit fixes under the files section will be the standard release, which you need, and the face effects wrapper, which is the lip file generation stuff. So both of those you'll want to download. The main fixes is just 4 files inside of a zip that you'll unpack into your root Skyrim folder, not the data folder, but the actual root Skyrim folder that has the creation kit and the main executable for the game. The face wrapper will go into a sound folder. Get there. Inside your data folder under sound and voice, you'll create a folder called processing, and you'll expand that. You'll extract those files. It's just a phonics data CDF file. It's the instructional file for how to generate lip files, basically. Additionally, in order to generate lip files, you have to run the creation kit from your root folder. You can't run it through Vortex or MO2. You have to run it from your native Skyrim installation, because of the virtual folder structure. Trying to generate lip files will crash it, even with CK fixes. So once you have those unpacked in that folder, you're good to go there with the creation kit fixes. That's all that has to be done. The other software you'll want to get is the Yakitori audio converter, also on Nexus, which is basically the wave conversion tool that I prefer to use. It's a lot easier to work with than some of the command prompt options that you can get out there, like Unfuzzer and some other ones, because these you can literally select the wave files you want, drop them in, and tell them what format you want to put them in and convert, and it'll do the conversion and drop them right in that folder. And you don't have to do the entire folder, you can just do a few files if you need to. Or the line file ones tend to not let you do just a couple of files. It'll do the whole folder, and some of them even do subfolders as well, so kind of annoying. So yeah, that is the conversion tool that we'll need to convert the raw line files that are provided into fuzz format after you have generated the lip files for it. And a fuzz file is basically just a small archive that contains the shrunk down audio file and the lip file. It takes up a lot less space than a WAV file. WAVs are rather large file formats. So with those in mind, you also will need a audio tool like Audacity, which is just a free basic audio editor. And basically you'll be pulling in lines that are provided. The general format that we're going with is to essentially, we're going to have sheets on the G drive for all of the audio lines for characters. This one's kind of rough because I'm going to be using the fossil mining mod as the example in this tutorial. But for Odyssey, we have a more specific example that breaks down things, more specifically. But the general theme here is that you're looking at the actual lines of the character here, and the order in which they're listed here is the order in which they're recorded, basically. So the first line here for her, Darnette, the fossil paleontologist, is, well, hello to you too, hun. So in our files, the first specific line would, of course, be the
Well, hello to you too, hun.
It is the same matching line there. So basically those lines are all going to be in order. So here we're working with the fossil mining mod. I've decided to add a NPC to it that you can recruit to the Explorers Guild with the legacy patch for the mod. But here in the base mod, she just hangs around the Hot Springs area over near Windhelm, and just digs fossils pretty much. And you can talk to her, trade fossils, do all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, so basically all dialogue is handled through a quest. When they're provided to you here, you'll open up the specific quest, and under the Dialogue Views tab, you'll have the character in question here. And it basically is going to open up all the different branches of their dialogue and stuff, which can be kind of confusing if you're not real familiar with it. But really, what you're going to be looking for are these individual white lines, because those are basically the starts of their different types of dialogue. So we're looking for that. Well, hello to you too, hun. So that's this first group over here. And you basically just double click on that, and it brings up the dialogue. This is the player says, and then this is what she says. There's about 144 or so character limit for each line the character has. So anytime you reach a stop point or a natural pause or get close to that character count, it has to be wrapped into a whole other line, which is its own individual voice file for each one of the lines. So double clicking on this, well, hello to you too, hun, brings up the line, brings up the voice file name. This is generated by the system automatically based on the quest form ID. So that's not something we have any control over at all, really. And then down in this box, it'll basically just show which voice path applies to this line. So if it's been set up properly in here, you should only ever see one line in here. If you see a ton of lines, then basically this hasn't been conditioned properly to work only for this voice type, which is her voice type, which is FOS, unique female Garnet. So that'll show you where the path of the file is going to need to be put, which is in data, sound, voice, the fossil, the plugin that you're working on, and the path of the character voice file, which is the unique female Darnet, and then of course this file name. So when you're looking to take that file, we open up our sources here. So our first line, we drop it into Audacity, and these will come already pre-done, ready to go.
Well, hello to you too, hun.
Go back over here to the Creation Kit, copy the file name, and then we go to File, Export Selected Audio, and then we basically just make sure that we are in our correct voice file, which is the fossil mod here, inside her folder. And then we just make sure we paste the actual name that we copied and hit save. And then it'll come up with this window to confirm. You hit OK. Don't have to change anything there. And then you just hit OK on the dialogue. Then when you open it up again, you'll see here that this has changed, because it's now telling you that there is a WAV file. I don't know why it lists it twice, honestly. But showing that the WAV file is there, but there's no lip file. And that's where we want to be at this point. So you click on it, and then down below here you click From WAV, and then you click Generate Lip File. And then when you click again, it'll show you that there is a lip file now. So looking at the folders here, we'll go into our sound, voice, fossil mod, Darnet, so you can see there now. We got our WAV file and our lip file. Now you can see that under properties, WAV files, it's 195 kilobytes. Oh wait, just that WAV file, which is huge. That's going to take up a lot of space after you've got thousands of lines. So opening up the Yakitori audio converter, after you've done all your lines, you just drag the two, both the lip and the WAV, in here. Make sure input format is WAV, and output format is Fuzz, and then you just hit convert. Simple. So you'll see it adds this Fuzz file in here, which if you look at the properties is only 20K. So that's the lip file and the audio all put into one, which means these two then can be saved somewhere else and backed up. I have all of my original lip and wave file pairs backed up, which I think is going to be a practice we need to make sure we do, just because we can't unpack the fuzz and then be able to repack it properly. There's too much of a chance of signal quality loss. We had major problems with that in Legacy at one point, and that's why we had to completely remaster half the audio in the whole mod when we did the version 5 update. So, yeah. So keep these lip and wave files someplace else, and then we can take the fuzz and actually upload and pack those up and have them good to go. So, pretty much, I know this is kind of messy. There's a lot of different windows I have to keep track of here, because essentially your workflow is to come from here in the creation kit, highlight the file name here. You can lose that now. Open up your character's file and bring in the voice file for it.
Name's Darnett Loven. My friends call me Darnie.
So that matches, and Darnett Loven, that's what this line is. So then we file, export selected audio, and once you've exported it once, that's the folder it's going to associate with, so you won't have to constantly be going and finding the right folder. So just paste the name in and save. Okay. Then back to the creation kit, close the window, open it back up, shows that the wave's there, click on from wave, generate lip file. Well, it doesn't update until you click in the window there, or hit OK. Kind of an OCD thing, I just like to make sure the lip is showing yes before I hit OK, and I'm certain it's there and good to go. These will not preview out, so you can't. Normally you could double click here and it would play the line, or hit preview and it would play the line. It only does that after the files are in there, and then you restart the creation kit. You could go back in and double click on there and verify that they're hooked up correctly, and have the actual correct line that's matching it, and that you didn't accidentally save the wrong line over the wrong one. But yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of it. The general lines are kind of hard to track sometimes here in the dialogue view, because this is basically showing the whole conditional tree. When they say this line, it goes to this response, and then goes to this response, which eventually leads to, one of two choices here. And you can really only tell just by looking at what the dialogue says, and just trying to match it up with the audio. One workflow that might work well for you is simply just to go down the line and listen to each one as you're going, and then go into the creation kit and hunt for that specific line. That's going to be the best way to ensure that from a file list perspective, you've hit everything that you have files for. The alternate method is, I think, a little more time consuming, but under player dialogue, you can select each one of their branches here and each one of their topics, and it'll show here on the right each line that's written out for it, and then that lets you double click and open up, and follow each of these lines, and then you can go in and find the right audio for it. So whichever way works for you, you can go forward into it or back into it, whichever works more appropriately for you. The other things to keep in mind if you are actually creating the dialogue entries for a character, since you'll be working in a patch when you're creating the dialogue, everything that's being added to the master obviously has to be done by way of a patch. Once you have created a patch that has dialogue entries that have been created in that patch, it has to be merged with the master before any audio is implemented for it, because the form IDs that are in the patch are going to be automatically re-rolled by the system when it's merged with the master. It's going to reassign form IDs based on its data indexing. So we would have to then go back and hunt and rename all those files, and that's a nightmare. So basically the workflow for here is when you're working on adding dialogue, you want to create your dialogue branches, all of your topics, have everything done, save your patch, pass it off to the development team, whoever's going to be doing the merges, usually me. And then when I get those all combined in, and then a new master pushed for everyone to download, then you'll see that your stuff is now in the ESM. You will no longer need your plugin because all that data will be merged in, and your audio files you can then be sure that all of these file names here are going to be correct moving forward. And from that point on, you can start doing any audio implementation at that point. So, any questions, feel free to drop me a note on DMs on Discord or a message on Nexus, but of course Discord's going to be the best way to reach me. And I will, hopefully this will be useful, and I'll throw together a few more of these as we need them moving forward into the future. So, good modding.